Hi guys, welcome to another Blender tutorial, and in this one we're going to be looking at how to use the cloth simulator. So we're going to set up a collision object and then another object which will be our cloth. We'll collide them together and the cloth should behave as if it was a real cloth colliding with that object. So I'm going to create first of all a sphere. We'll just up the segments a little bit, make it smoother, scale it up a little. Okay, and now we've done that, I'm going to choose to smooth it, shade smooth. I'm going to add a modifier to this also, which will be subdivision surface modifier, just to make everything a little smoother. And now we've done that, we're going to add another modifier to this, which is collision. Now you've got to make sure collision comes last on the stack. And now we are done with this for the time being. Go back over to create, we'll create a plane object. I'm going to scale this up slightly. And we're going to add to this also subdivision surface. Actually, we can just leave it as it is for now. And I'm going to come in and set the cloth. Now we come over to our physics tab, which is this one here, and in our cloth we can choose a cloth preset. I'm going to go for silk, and in our cloth collision I'm going to turn on self collision so that the cloth won't collide with itself. Now I've done this, I'm going to hit play down here and we'll see what happens. Now you can see that doesn't look like cloth at all. It just broke straight through the object. Now the other problem we've got here is if we were to up the distance of the self collision, you see that we still get a similar type of effect. It's just falling straight through the object. Now one of the reasons for this is that we don't have enough subdivisions of our cloth. So we need more vertices in there for it to work with. So let's go back to the beginning of the animation. In our modifiers here, we're going to add a, first of all, we'll remove the cloth modifier actually. Let's get rid of that. I'm going to add again a subdivision surface modifier. Divide it 6 times. And we'll apply that. I'm going to scale up a bit. So now you can see we've got a lot more vertices there, quite a dense mesh that we're going to be able to work with. So choose cloth again, and let's play this, see how it looks. Now you'll see we got our object flowing more around, and it looks more like a cloth being draped over the object. We're going to turn on smoothing. Where are we? Auto smooth. And we'll choose to shade smooth like so. Let's go back over then to our physics modifier. We'll turn on self collision. We'll run this simulator again. Now the object will not collide with itself. Just up that a little bit. Play again. So you see this time we get a lot less deformation around the edge there. And so there is our piece of cloth draped over there. Now if we were to change the dynamics, let's say to cotton, for example, and we played this again, you see that we'll get a little bit different dynamic there, because the cotton doesn't sit like the silk would over this object. So if we leave it there with cotton, now we'll go over to our collision object and we can alter some things like particle friction and the stickiness, so how much the particles stick to the object, so whether this object is smooth, how it's going to slide off. Play again. So there is our cloth draped over there. Now let's make this look a bit more realistic. We're going to go for a table. So I'm going to delete this sphere there, and we'll create a new object. Create a cube. We'll scale this in the z-axis to make it a little bit thinner. So this will be our table object. Now we're going to bevel it. Smooth those bevels out. Get them a little larger. Okay, so there is our table object. So we'll turn on collision for this. We'll up the stickiness and the friction a little bit. We'll leave those as they are. And come over to our cloth. Now if we run this, you see now we have something that looks like a tablecloth draped over our table there, using the cloth simulator. So just to finish off our table, I'm going to add in some legs. So create a cylinder, scale it down, scale it up on the z-axis. Let's go to a bottom view, and we'll stick one in each corner. Command C and Command V. I'll put another one over here. Command C and V over here, and final one over here. Okay, so there's our table. I'll just drag all of these legs up. So now we run our simulator again. And our cloth is kind of whipping underneath a little bit too much. We want it to fall down, so you just let the simulator run a little longer. And there we go, until our cloth kind of falls into shape. So the longer you leave this running, the kind of more it will have fallen down into what looks more like a natural tablecloth shape there. So that's how we use the cloth simulator. Pretty straightforward, really. You can just play around with the settings. Now once you're done with all of this, we're going to make a cloth cache. So this basically will create a cache of this so that it's in the memory, so that you don't have to run this simulator every time. You see at the moment, if I move this cloth, you see it loses the shape. So you want to bake this onto the cloth. So you do that by simply running this bake command here. So we'll go back to the beginning. We hit bake. And you're going to have to wait for this to run through the frames. So it's going to go up to 250 frames. And once it's done with that, you'll actually then be able to It's kind of baking this into the mesh, so it's saving into the memory how this cloth should look like. So then you can actually then begin to edit it, move it around. You could even move it away from the table object and it will retain its shape. So I'll just pause the video while this is running and I'll see you in a few moments. Now the baking is done. If we play this, you'll see it happens a lot faster now because we've got it actually in the memory. It's not having to compute on the fly. So it also now means that we can begin to move the object around and apply various things to it. So if I select the table, you'll see we can actually now drag that object out of the way and it keeps the shape. So if you wanted to, maybe save some rendering cycles, because the table actually can't be seen because the tablecloth isn't there, or because the tablecloth is covering it, you could even actually delete the underside of the table and the cloth will keep its shape. It will also now fall over an object which isn't even there. So that's quite cool. We can of course place that table back if we want. So that's basically how to use the cloth simulator. There's a lot more to it than that. It's quite powerful. There's a lot of other things that can be done. But this just gives you a quick introduction and basic overview. Good place to start as to how to actually make a tablecloth or some other sort of cloth to drape over another object. So I hope you found this tutorial useful. If you did, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like video. And I'll see you next time.